Folks, all the time, ever since I can remember, I've heard this thing: the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Will this tomorrow ever arrive? And this is one of the questions a lot of young people have asked themselves. But in this day and age in Kenya, we find ourselves in a very interesting time. Historically, and in terms of demographics, we are just about to experience something they call a youth bulge, the greatest ever population of young people in our history, ever. This is coming in the next few years. Already the Gen Z are literally on the avant-garde of that. I'm telling you, this youth bulge comes with a myriad of new, never-before experienced scenarios. Another thing we find ourselves in, another scenario we find ourselves in, is that for the first time in a long time, Kenyan youth are switched on in ways that we haven't previously seen. You might argue with that, but the data doesn't lie. Case in point, the numbers, the voter registration numbers over the last 15 to 20 years have signaled a decline of youth interest and youth participation, active participation in Kenyan politics. But are we likely to see a change of that? Because last year, the events of June 24th, 25th, and thereabouts have switched the conversation. We're having more and more youth step up and talk about the running of their country than ever before, or perhaps in recent history. Are we even asking the right questions? Are the youth of today unique in their anger, in their ambition? Or are they just another group of young people? Did the youth back in 1992, in the advent of multi-party elections, did the youth of that time exercise their full mandate? Did the youth of 1997, 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022, did the youth stand up to be counted? These are just a few of the questions we want to ask. But more importantly, for those who are interested in having a much more youthful and much more representative leadership in this country, this is a show for you, because we're going to delve a little bit more, because last week we did that, but we'll talk a little bit more about just what does it take to get the people from armchair activism and outrage to actually sitting in these positions and making the change that we so desperately want. What are the obstacles? Let me not preempt this. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the conversation we have tonight. It's all about the politics of this country, the youth, the potential, the potency, or the impotence. You decide. The questions are mine, the answers are yours. Allow me to introduce some people, ladies and gentlemen. I'll start here on my right. We have a gentleman called Samuel Kimani. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Samuel Kimani is the former MCA of Kino Ward. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Right. Next to him, we have someone with an interesting name. Listen, Chief, your name is a kind of name where, there's a lot of high expectations. You've got to live up to it. Folks, his name is Fanyamambo Kinuthia. What's your birth name, by the way? I'm curious.
Fanyamambo Kinuthia is the name on my ID. I keep telling you people, if you doubt, mnanitumia ila one bob ya Gen Z, just to confirm. Then I'll have 1 million shillings on my phone.
Interesting. Fanyamambo, there's a story there, I'm sure. He's a lawyer and he's an aspiring MP of Dagoretti South, I believe. But other than that, he is a political analyst and a governance analyst as well. Thank you so much for coming. Next to him, last but not least, is Kamau James, who's the MCA of Kikuyu Ward. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Watu wako wanasemaje?
Kikuyu tuko sawa, tunataka kazi, hatutaki maneno mingi.
Hatutaki maneno mingi. All right. Now, you know how we do. We give you the opportunity to participate and you send us some of your people here, and we would like to identify some of the people you sent us. Let us, just by a show of hands, George Mushiri, I believe the member for Bahati aspirant. Karibu sana. We also have Daniel Mugochi or Mugoshi. Am I saying it properly? Good to see you, Daniel. Again, karibu sana. We have John Mbusio. John, how are you? Habari ya watu ya Kitui?
Wako poa sana.
Awesome. There is John Kirogo. Where is John? Karibu sana, I see you. Good to see you. And then we have Kelvin Mwangi from Tujibebe. Karibu sana. Welcome back again. You were here with us last week. We have Nyambura Mwangi. Karibu Nyambura. Welcome. Nyambura is from the Youth Liberators in Nyandarua County, I believe. Thank you so much. We have someone who also has another name like yours. He calls himself Mtetezi, John Mtetezi. Is that your actual birth name? Or it's a given name? You've acquired. We didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Ah, super, super. We're happy to have you. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I hope unatetea the right things. Davis Osiemo? Davis Osiemo was not able to join us. George Mushiri, I think you should look for this guy called Osiemo to talk to him. What about Peter Museli? Ah, karibu sana. How are you? Watu yako salama? Watu ya, is it Cuso or Chuso? Cuso ward. Where is that? Kitui County. Wonderful, wonderful. Next, we have Philemon Omondi. I've seen Omondi somewhere. Yes, karibu sana. Thank you so much. We have Riro Sibuti. Riro, yes, Riro. How are you doing? Everything good? Supreme. We have Samoja Arodi, right at the back. Don't worry, we'll capture you. And then we have William Anthony Kanani, also at the back. How are you doing? Everything okay? All right, all right. And then Mburu Maina? Ah, right here. Thank you so much for joining us. And am I missing anybody? Vincent Utieno. I believe Vincent is here. Vincent? Ah, yes, yes, yes. Good to see you, Vincent. And of course, Rebecca Kwamboka. Where's Rebecca? We were with you last week. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe there's one person that, a couple of people. How are you, my dear? Would someone please hand her the microphone? What is your good name and what constituency do you represent?
My name is Nancy Njoki. I come from Nyandarua. I represent KPP Ward.
Excellent, yes. Excellent. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
A pleasure too.
And then, of course, our chairman here, James Mulamba, a.k.a. the Revolutionary. Good to see you. Guys, full house, and the people at home, this is a conversation clearly worth having. I want us to just jump straight into this. For the guys who were not there last week, one of the hottest moments, and please, the guys who were there, you testify. One of the things that I think elicited a lot of interest was the cost of seeking elective office. You know, we want to find out what is the true cost of seeking elective office, examining all these barriers that were mentioned last time. So I want us to talk about this for a second. If I may start with you, sir.
Yes.
Would you just give us a clear picture? What is the true financial reality of running for office as a young person in Kenya?
Okay, thank you very much. Kimani Wanjiko once again is my name, former MCA and aspiring member of parliament in Kikuyu constituency.
Oh, great, great.
Yes, so first and foremost, it's good to actually inform the viewers that I was elected as a member of county assembly at the age of 31 years. So I was still under the youth bracket. And I do believe I was not the most loaded in terms of finances.
That's so.
Yes,
actually,
because...
hold on to that a second, just a second.
Yes.
The guys who were here last week, and those of you Index 1 in the audience who actually remember the numbers that will... Allow me to run some numbers, and please tell me if this is accurate.
Yes.
We went through some research. A number of people have done some research, and they say that the average costs of these particular seats ranges from the following. And I'm sure all of you will tell us if this is right. They say the position of MCA, the average cost of, to be able to run a proper campaign, although it varies from location to location, the average is about 3.1 million. Is this accurate?
What I can say from my case scenario, the actual money that I could account for, because I remember very well I had to sell 2 pieces of land that I had acquired to be able to campaign.
Was it your first time vying?
No, it was my second time, because in 2013...
Let me take you all the way back.
Yes.
Go back to the first one. What
Actually,
happened?
I started in 2009. Where the late President Kibaki, when he came into power, you may remember he introduced something called National Youth Council. The National Youth Council delegates were to be elected by the young people from the sub-location all the way to nationals. And so I developed interest, and I was there, and I was elected in my sub-location, by then called Muthiga sub-location. And after being elected, you all know what happened. The reason why the National Youth Council delegates is no longer very popular is because the National Assembly actually denied it a budget. Kibaki had a vision to empower the young people to come into leadership. So it died a natural death. So from there, 2010, the new constitution, and now there was an opportunity for a ward representative. I vied in 2013, and I was position 2.
You vie as an independent or part of a party?
I vied with the Kenya National Congress by Peter Kenneth. It was not a popular party at all.
Right.
Actually, I was funding myself everything, and I managed position 2.
That's great. Congratulations.
And great position 2.
What are the numbers like back then?
Back then, I think I spent 1 million.
1 million.
1 million, which I could account.
How did you find this money? How did you raise this money?
One, I had to sell one of my property. By then, I was also doing pigs rearing. I sold all my pigs.
Oh my.
So that I could be able to afford the posters, and so that I could be able to fuel one vehicle to go around the ward. But then also what really encouraged me is that I could also get assistance from the people in kind.
Okay.
So, I could get somebody, maybe we school together and they agreed to do for me 1,000 posters or, 5 banners, like that. And I kept on.
Fuel.
Yes, and we moved on until to the election. But now come 2017 was a bit more costly and it was very competitive in 2017 because now I was running against somebody who has been there through the nominations and to the main election. What I can clearly remember the actual figures, I spent about 2.5 million.
Okay.
Yes, and then,
what party were you running with?
By then I was running with the Jubilee Party.
Jubilee Party.
Yes.
You got the nomination?
I got the nomination, and from there I went through the general election and I won the elections. And I served now for the 5 years.
Okay.
But what I would really want to say is that if you would sit down and just count the cost, it might really discourage you from beginning. Some of this money would come along the way as you're moving. Okay. So I decided to move, and some of this could come along the way as I'm moving.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. I'll come back to you in a bit. Let me jump to a member for Kikuyu Ward. Yes. Talk to us. What was your experience as well with this running thing? How many times have you run? What was the first time? What was the experience like?
Let me begin by saying, well, I've been in leadership, as my colleague here have said. I also contested when the NYC was inaugurated. So that's when I started my leadership, competitive leadership journey. But I remember when I was in the then Kenya Polytechnic, I remember I was elected as the chairman of the Christian Union. So that tells you my standing as a Christian Union chairman. Definitely, you've got to have a certain
Mheshimiwa, Kenyans have a very strange, way of dealing with Christian leaders.
I have no problem. I have no problem. I am not apologetic for being a Christian.
All right.
For that, I have no apology.
Brilliant, brilliant.
But after college, I remember I got into sports, and I got elected as a chairman of football in our region. And I was the chairman of football in Kiambu County, and at some stage I was representing Abadea's region. So I've had quite a journey in leadership, okay. Youth leadership.
Okay.
Then in 2017, I decided to contest as a member of County Assembly. I lost at the nominations of the Jubilee Party. Okay. And I didn't go to the ballots. Then again in 2022, I decided to contest. And by the grace of God, I won at the primaries, and I got elected as a member of County Assembly, Kiambu County, representing the great people of Kikuyu Ward.
Kikuyu Ward. All right.
The costs, again, I would say it varies, because if you're in a rural setup, the cost will be different from someone who is in an urban setup. And then there are some wards like mine that has both rural and peri-urban and urban. So the dynamics are different. I spent 1.5 million in 2017. In 2022, for the primaries and the elections, I spent 4 million or thereabouts. So yes, it's quite expensive, and but it's worth, if you have the passion, if you have the drive to serve, you will pay the price. But again, as I said, I'll repeat, it depends on what social capital have you invested in. Because you cannot quantify it and monetize it. There are some individuals who will volunteer because of the journey that you've walked with them. There are some people who will help you because you have had a relationship. So the long and short of it is, it's not about the elections time. It's about how have you related with the people? What have you been doing? How have you been responding to the needs of the society? So the more you invest in the social capital aspects, the less expensive it becomes for you close to the primaries or even the main elections.
Interesting, interesting. A layup before the dunk. Fanyamambo, let me bring you here in for a second. Talk to us. I mean, a lot of youth feel like the cost of vying is systematically locking them out from vying. What would you say about this?
These people talk about the National Youth Council. I'd like to tell everybody in this room that there was a time when youth was a department. You people were so useless to this republic. You were made a department. When Kibaki became president, he made a very old minister, the minister in charge of youth affairs. The youth department was at Nyayo Stadium, Nyayo National Stadium. I was 20. We sat in the National Steering Committee that drafted the National Youth Policy from what is a youth. Until there came a very prolific PS in the Ministry of Youth Affairs, then may he rest in peace, Kinodia Morogo, was very eloquent. And they didn't do a good job at helping us build a National Youth Council. We fought for the National Youth Council. I sat at the age of 21 as the only observer on behalf of the youth at Bomas 1, 2, and 3 when Kenya was writing her constitution. And that chapter you see there on youth, we all know where it came from. Because we were the young people who said, and I remember telling PLO Lumumba then and Yash Palgai, the young people are not coming here as flower girls. We did not have a delegate for youth. So I was an observer on behalf of the youth in Kenya at the Bomas conference. I still have my badge. We used to walk. Martin Shikuku would give me a lift. Sometimes Orie Rogo Maduli. I had my reasons to fear her lift, but may she also rest in peace. But I was very young. And I remember walking to GTZ. That time they were called GTZ, today they are GIZ. And Dr. Angela Langenkamp, wherever you are, God bless you, because they funded my going to Bomas. Walininunulia Megaraida ile ya Kenya bus.
Right.
You may not know Megaraida, but it was a ticket you would have and it would help you take the bus anytime as long as you've paid for the whole month. Aunge lose hata ulikuwa unaichomelea kitu na hang kwa shingo. So we've walked this journey. Some people tend to see Fanyamambo on TV and think, I started when I was 21. Bombers 1, 2, and 3. I even have a certificate and a green bag we used to carry. So we crafted this constitution and we put in that space for youth. What was I coming to? So when we are coming now, moving to where we are, people forget that I vied in 2013. I tried an MCA seat in Oidaka. I think I was the last one in the race, in the nominations. And the reason is, and I want to encourage every person sitting in this room. You know, I've always given the example of a monkey that vied for a seat in a forest to be president of the animals, and a lion that vied. But there were more monkeys, very many monkeys that came to vote, and very few lions. So the monkey won. Then you know he's showing his red behind and saying, I won, I won, I won the lion. And very many lions have lost elections in this country because more monkeys have come out to vote than lions. And people have been told you've lost an election.
Hold up.
No,
Hold up. You have to let that percolate. You have to let that digest a bit. More monkeys have won and are strutting around in the corridors of power of this country because the lions didn't show up.
No. Because the number of voters that were monkeys was really high. In fact, even if you go to any forest, there will be more monkeys than lions.
Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that thought. Thank you so much. Let's take a short break, digesting this whole monkey versus... Who are you, by the way? Are you a monkey or are you a lion? Please SMS me, and on YouTube, comment right there. I'll be happy to sample it. We'll be right back with that. Monkey versus lion.